Hi everybody, Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. Well, it's a scorcher outside. Right now it's about 40 degrees Celsius. It's really hot. I took Mia out for a short walk and she's sleeping right now in the studio. And I thought I would get started on a piece of art with theme. And I thought I'd show you how I was going to do it. And if you want to follow along, all the supplies I'm actually going to be using will be listed at the end of the video. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I'll pull out a bunch of stuff and I may use it, I may not use it, I may bring in some new stuff, but everything I actually do use will be at the end of the video. As well, you don't have to create this on what I'm using for a support. You can create it on anything you want. So I started an activity on my blog, and it's called The Dark Side of Vintage. And each week I'm posting a theme. So the main theme is Dark Side of Vintage, and then the sub-theme, there's a new one every week, and for this week it's called Fairies. So it's the Dark Side of Vintage with fairies. I've never drawn a fairy before, or even painted a fairy before. I had to actually look up what a fairy looked like because the only fairy I ever knew of was Tinkerbell. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm probably not going to be very good at doing this. So, but all I'm going to do is basically, and this is where I'm really struggling, is I'm a professional portraiture artist of people and pets. I am trying so hard to draw more fantasy-styled, imperfect faces, and I'm having a lot of trouble doing that. I find myself, as I get my faces getting, then my training starts to come in, that I start measuring proportions and really starting to make them too perfect. And I'm really struggling with this. So what I did is I have a book, and I started creating faces. I even drew some with my left hand upside down, all from memory. Nothing's from photographs, everything's from memory. So, and I just started doing some really random sketches, and you can see that I already start gridding everything out, and so I'm liking that. And as I just go through, and I find that I'm starting to be a little bit better. Oh, I drew a penguin. Starting to be a little bit better with the faces that I am drawing. And I did a really nice one here. Then I went on the back. I was testing out these new markers, and I got it all messed up. And I really like the one that I did here, but it's still a little bit too perfect for what I'm looking for. And I thought, well, why don't I start just omitting features? Like, don't put all these features in. So I started drawing some of these fairies, and I started removing some features. And as I started going through, I started finding out things that I could do to really, I mean, look at this little cutie. Really make the things oversized. And then this is the last one I did, which is the one I love the best. This one here. And I just got a general face, and I'm going to label this basically Fairies Can Dream. So this is the one I'm going to work with. So I found that if I had not been doing all this drawing, I'm going to put this aside, if I had not been doing all this drawing, I really would have been stuck with that. So I've got the drawing journal there. Supplies, I've got a 140 pound 400 series Strathmore mixed media paper. A bunch of Langnickel brushes. I am not going to use all of these, but I have a container on the side with a bunch of brushes, and I will randomly pull out, you know, ones. I don't look at numbers. I don't look at numbers on brushes. I look at the actual bristles. Palette knife. Let's see, I've got some stencils. I'll call them out as I use them. I've got my tray here. Now I've got the paints prepared. Now I reuse these colors a lot, and the actual colors are these ones here. And what they are the Decor Traditions paints, and I have titanium white, Paranone orange, red violet, phthalo blue on the green side, and blue gray. And to this, I added, to the puddle of paint, I added about half the portion of the watercolor medium, and to that, about 2-3 drops of the extender and blending medium. So the watercolor medium is going to make the paints even more transparent, more like watercolors. These are acrylics, so I'm going to make them more like watercolors. Then the extender and blending medium is going to thin them out just a little bit more. And it'll keep the paint wet a little bit longer. So I'll move these aside. And I just have my little tray here. The camera's having a heck of a time focusing on this little tray. Alright. And then what I do is, because the studio lights are so hot, the air conditioners are going and things are drying. I will still add a little bit of water, even with the extender in there, just to keep it fluid. Okay, so I'll put that aside. Yeah, I've got my stencils. And line nickel brushes, Majestic, some soft grip brushes here. So that takes care of that. I've got, a little dauber, which I'm going to use to distress the edges of the page. This is from DecoArt. Brush basin, masking tape, although I don't think I'm going to use it. Paper towels are right here. Oh, carbon black. I only have a big bottle of the carbon black. The tradition is carbon black, so I forgot. Better put some in there. And I put it in these little bottles. DecoArt has these little bottles. They're really cool. It helps, makes it a little bit easier to handle. I also have the Paper Effects. This is the metallic copper, and I'm going to be using the writing tip on this. Put that aside. Again, I'm going to be listing what I actually do use at the end of the video. Misting bottle, scissors if I need them. I've got some flowers here. Now for the flowers, let me just get, reach. So, I got these black flowers. I just picked these up at a craft store. And then I took some buttons. Now these buttons, I picked these up at Lens Mill. They have like a bin, and you just grab a scoopful, and they're like really cheap. So I took my pliers and I cut the bottoms off, and then I used the bead and glitter glue, and I just glued them on. So as I put them on my no stick mat, I put the button on the flowers, and I put a bottle of paint on top, and that pressed it. Okay. The deco page I usually use, but I really wanted these to be strong, and I found that this is actually pretty good. So put that aside. I may use these, may not. I don't know yet. Let's see. In a pencil and an eraser. This is a This is a 2B pencil. I don't want anything too hard to score the paper, because then when I paint, you'll actually see score lines. So you want something relatively soft to do your drawing. And I'm not going to paint on the pad. I never paint on the actual pad. And I'll just pull that out. And I had contemplated whether on even using mixed media paper. I was thinking about just using the watercolor paper, but this paper is really smooth and it works out really nice anytime I'm doing faces. But before we do any faces, now I'm just going to get my little container, put my brushes in there. Yeah, it's loud. Put these aside. I want to start actually prepping the background. The face is actually the last thing to do. So to save my table, I also have a Ranger nonstick craft mat here. Nothing sticks to it. I'm not really cleaning it very well, but anyways. So in this, what I'm looking at doing is, I'm not going to do a typical fantasy fairy type of thing, but I am going to just do a really rough little girl here. So I'm just doing kind of like an oval shape, and I put a mark here because that's going to be where the top of her head is. And I'm thinking, okay, her neck is going to be here, and her shoulders. Okay, so she's coming out from the page. I'm doing this really light. So what I'm looking at is I want a glow to be behind her, because she's also going to have her wings here. Okay, but the wings I'm going to do at the end. Her wings are going to be here, and her hair is going to be flowing. So I want to have like a glow back here, and I want the glow to be a very cool blue. Okay, so with that, I'm going to get my paint palette and turn this around this way. Now when you're working with acrylics, never work with a dry brush unless you're working with a dry brush technique. So I'm going to dampen my brush, and I'm just going to take, I want to do a light color because I want to be doing some stenciling over dark. So I want to get a prime going. So I'm going to take some titanium white with a bit of blue gray. Now acrylics dry darker. as the moisture evaporates. And I'm just taking a fan brush and I'm just going to really roughly put this in. And I'm going to spread the paint out really thin. And I want to leave these open gaps here. And I can even take my paper towel and just pad that. I really want this rough. Oh, the other, did I tell you about a heat gun? I don't know if I told you about a heat gun. Now the paint that's around the face, I'm going to really smush that out. And I try to avoid rubbing hard with the paper towel because it'll start removing the fibers of the paper. So I just use my brush and I'm just feathering that out. And if I don't feather out these edges, you will have a paint ridge. Okay, you'll have a paint ridge and that's what we don't want. Now to dry this heat gun, now Mia's laying on the floor. She's terrified of the heat gun, so I'm not going to put it on. But basically 12 inches above your painting, you turn it on, an actual heat gun increases in temperature, so it gets hotter, but the airflow stays the same. So what you want to do, we're drying acrylics, we're not embossing, so you can't make your paper too hot, otherwise you'll burn the acrylic and you'll burn the paper. You start off here, you keep your hand underneath, and as long as your hand can comfortably stay on the paper, you can just move it around, you're fine. But if it starts to get really hot on your fingers, then lift your heat gun a little bit higher. Okay, embossing is just done for like 1 to 2 seconds, and that's fine. But over a whole piece, you can't use the heat gun that close and that long. As well, if you're painting this on terrace skin, do not use a heat gun because the paper will actually curl. Okay, so this is almost set here. So I'm just going to let this dry just for a few more minutes, and then I'll start working on the next stage of the background. I'm going to work with some stencils now. I'm going to tell you what I have, and I may or may not use them. So I have butterfly. I've got some nice, here, let me just, there we go, so you can see the pattern. So I've got this, I've got this, okay, I've got this, I've got kaleidoscopes. You guys know that I'm a circle addict. And I've got this. Whether or not I'm going to use them all, I don't know. Now, this is not a formal teaching video, so I just want you to know that I do take my time thinking with these. This is not a challenge video where I'm only allowed to use certain supplies, so I may change my mind and start bringing some stuff out as I go. And I'm obsessed with this stencil. This part of the stencil, like all these stencils I have here, and this one here I've never used. I haven't used this one, I don't think. So I'm going to use that one. But there's some certain stencils from DecoArt I am just obsessed with, and because I so enjoy the patterns that they have. Now for her wings, I was going to paint her wings. I just thought I was going to put this in here, but I think I'm going to use this for her actual wings. So I'm going to only do half. And it may be a little small, but that's okay. Now what I could even do is bring that out here, then put her hair to flow over here, which is probably what I'm going to do. But this is going to be like on top of all the backgrounds. And the backgrounds are not meant to actually show. They're meant just to add a subtle change. And I already know which one I'm going to go for first. The way I'm going to do this, you have to do this wet on wet. The piece can't dry. So I'm going to start with some circles first. And I'm going to turn the stencil upside down. And I'm going to make, I don't want to put that in the corner because that'll just be too obvious. Perfect pattern. So I could do it like that. There we go. That'll leave some room for her hair to flow over that. Now, I'm not going to per se stencil on top of this. I'm going to paint the background, put the stencil on top, and then remove it. To make that much easier, what I want to do Oh my goodness, I'm getting too old for this. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to put, see, this is a supply that I forgot to put on the table. I'm going to take a little bit of multi-surface sealer. And I'm going to grab just a 1-inch brush. If you had time, you could also use glazing medium if you want. I'll just put some of that on there. And I'm just going to roughly put that in. Whoopsie. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have actually stenciled some leaves on with this. Multi-surface sealer is a really good resist. Put that in water right away. And I'm just going to take a paper towel and just around her face, I'm just going to pad that. This won't take long to dry at all. And the reason why I'm doing this, because I'm working on the mixed media paper, if I was to do a lot of rubbing, I was saying before, if I do a lot of rubbing, I actually will remove the fibers of the paper. It's paper. Okay, if you want to do a lot of scrubbing, then what you want to do is work with canvas, masonite, or terraskin. But this is paper. Okay, but this paper is very, very strong. I have an eyelash in here. Oh, let's put some of my DNA in the painting. Now, while that dries, well, I'm going to be showing everything of what I'm doing. I'm not going to be, the only thing I'll edit out is if Mia decides to bark or she, you know, scratches and her bling starts to make some noise. So I'm going to be showing you all my mistakes as well. I gear these videos for everyone, especially beginners, but if you're more advanced, just fast forward through the video. I would prefer getting beginners used to learning some, you know, supplies and techniques and, you know, a process that if it's okay to make mistakes. But more advanced people might find some sections boring. Just fast forward through it. Okay? And sometimes I may tend to talk a little bit fast. I apologize. And we're almost ready to go. This is pretty good. So I'm going to take, I'm not going to work with my fan brush now. Now what I want to do is want to lay the paint on. Just going to grab my big filbert and a fresh paper towel, not one with the multi-surface sealer. And I'm just going to go with some phthalo blue. Now, phthalo blue, it's a owie wowie color. Okay. I just want to make this to be a stain, so a lot of water with this. See how bright that is? And I just want to make this to be a stain. And what it's going to do is just going to sit right on top. Okay, and I'm just going to paper towel this part first. Now I'm going to put the stencil on right away. Okay, tad of water. Just not too much water. And all I'm doing is I'm just wiping out the paint. Yes, I could use a baby wipe. No, I don't have any. And the more layers of paint that you have on this, the better. Okay, the better, because you got then you're actually rubbing on paint and you're not rubbing on paper. Okay, so I've got a nice little glaze there, and that won't take long to dry. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of that phthalo blue, and I'm going to take a little bit of orange. Ooh, that's too much orange. And what I'm doing is I'm making a real dull blue. See the difference? Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of red violet in that. Good amount of water. That's actually not too bad. A little bit duller than that. There we go. That's good. Nice dull blue. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is take that same stencil And I'll go right about here. And I'm just going to put a wash now over here, like so. Now, I made this really watery because what I want to do is I want the paint to actually seep underneath the stencil. I don't want hard dots because it's going to be too busy. I want this to seep right underneath the stencil. And what it's going to look like is water drops that are just splaying. Okay. Oh, yay. Now, what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to let that sit for a sec. I just want to wipe the stencil down. And so color is going to be transferred to my sheets. Isn't that cool? Sometimes what I'll do is this piece here, the cleaning of the stencil, I'll actually do this on the back of the page. Okay, I'll put that aside. How cool. Now, the effect, this effect here, you can get this sometimes if you use acrylics and you actually throw down some rubbing alcohol, and then it'll create some blooms. When I have Mia in the studio, I don't use stuff like that that smells really, really hard because she's new to the family. She is a rescue. We don't have any history on her. I don't know how she would react to that. And, you know, I'd rather not use that stuff when she's around anyways. So while that dries, this is not quite dry yet, but I can start preparing a glaze. And a glaze is basically just a transparent layer of color. And I'm thinking this one, I want this to be, I'm going to use a transparent red iron oxide that's over here. And, no, that's not transparent red iron oxide. This is transparent red iron oxide. This is quinacridone burnt orange. I may have to bring some of that in there. And it'll just make a very, very thin. Come on. No, I better add some more in there. It's going to make a very, very dull layer. It's a very potent color. Very potent color. There we go. I just want to dull this down. This is, her hair is going to be covering all this. This is why I don't care about what's going on here. And take a mop brush. And just going to tickle. Dry mop brush. And I'm just going back and forth like this. And what the mop brush does is it removes the top, just the top ridges of any paint that any paint ridges that you have there. And I give credit to this technique. I first learned it with a different brush with Bill Alexander, but Buck Paulson with his bunny brush. He's the one that, my mentor, really helped me learn the fine art. So here it just mesmerizes the whole piece. Okay, her hair is going to be here, so we're okay with that. Now this here, I won't use it again, but it needs to go in water. But that's a brush that you use dry on top of this stuff. And if you have textured paper towel, you can also rub that in to get a pattern. How cool is that? Look at that. Isn't that neat? I could also do that here. Now you don't want to rub like the paper towel back and forth, but all you're doing is just This one didn't pick up too much. There we go. And rinse that brush out a little bit more. And now what I want to do is I want to stencil. This could even be her hair. I need to get a different brush. I'm going to get my number 8 bristle brush. And I'm actually going to get some paper towel aside because I'm going to start stenciling some color in here. Let's see. A little bit of blue-gray. With some phthalo blue. I'm going to pick up a little bit of black in that. You should still be able to see what I'm doing here. Want this relatively dry. And although I know this is going to be close to her face, I'm still going to put that in there because her face, the shape of her face may change. And I'll do that right to about here. Oh heck, I could even do this one here. I love doing backgrounds. So can I do something with the other side as well? I can. So if I just take the stencil and put it right back upside down, then I'm going to get all the smushy stuff. Let's see what we get, kind of effect we get with that. Now I'm pushing the stencil down just to get all the excess paint. If I lift that up, I'm getting a negative print. And I'm not going to move the stencil quite yet, so I want to show you something. I hate to waste anything. This is why I just like to... And doing this stuff, you will never get another painting to look exactly like this. It just has a bit more meaning to it. To this, now I can take a little bit of... Oh, this is drying. It is so hot in here. Some red violet. In my brush. And making it a different color will make it stand out from the negative print we just made. When it comes time to painting her face, I will have to do some base coating first to prep the area. Unless I want the stenciling to show through. I'm not sure yet. There we go. Now, let's see if I can get anything with this one. I don't know if I'm going to get much going on here. And I'm just wiping out the stencil over the area just to get a little a different effect. So this is what I'm talking about. I was cleaning my stencils, going right over the piece. What else have I got here? Do I have any more? I don't know if I have any more. I can always pick up some paint. Pick up some paint on the paper towel. Okay. And now that has to dry, and I have to clean my stencil properly. I am abusive to these stencils, but they're so strong. Clean that properly, put that aside. And Mia's still sleeping, so I don't want to disturb her. So what I'll do is I'm going to clean this while this dries. And for those of you that have never used a Ranger non-stick craft mat, it's the only one that I've ever used. I think there's a couple out there, but this is like the best invention. It's too small though. So people at Ranger, if you haven't already, by the time, well, see this video, a bigger one. And possibly a bit of a thicker material. But it's amazing. I love it. You just wipe. Now this paint here, this has been here for a couple days. And see how easy it wipes? Now depending on where you buy it, it is a little bit pricey up front. But I was always using these, this is just rolled paper I got from IKEA. And then I would use the no stick baking parchment paper. 5 rolls of parchment paper, the same price as this. And the parchment paper, you can't wipe it clean like this. Okay. So for you out there, now I don't get paid for recommending Ranger products, but if you can get one, you'll love it. I actually don't know of anybody who doesn't like it, other than it being too thin. Because you can use a heat gun on this as well. So I had 3 days worth of paint on there. And I don't like endorsing certain products, especially if I haven't tried them. I don't endorse anything that I haven't tried. But this is a beauty. I love this. There we go. There we go. See, I can just keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing and stuff just keeps coming off. The one thing that really saved me with this is anytime I use this decoupage, whether it's a gloss or matte, this stuff is the best adhesive, but it really sticks to your fingers, and to this it sticks as well. A little bit of water, and then you just rub, and it comes right off. Easy peasy. All right. Now, see how this, I don't know if you can see how this paper is curling. Okay, that's all the moisture in the paper. Okay. As it starts to dry out, okay, some of these little wrinkles will stay there. Before you glue anything on there, as long as it's only acrylics, you can put this on an ironing board with an old towel on the bottom, and then some like plain newsprint, like this, nothing with ink or anything on top, and then just iron it, and your page will come out really flat. But this is because of the moisture. Okay. Now that's still a little bit damp, but I think I'll leave that the way it is. I'm just going to work on the face now. Now the face, I'm going to first prime it. If it's even... no, this paint is... no, it's... oh, there it goes. Transparent yellow iron oxide, I was hoping would... no. Okay, I'm going to bring out some yellow oxide. I was hoping that the paint would be usable. I hate wasting. Yellow oxide. And see, again, I'm just changing, bringing in a little bit more color. Yellow oxide. A speck of naphthol red light. Even that's too much. And white. Lots of white. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow oxide in there. And this is where you can choose whether you want the face to be warm or you want it to be cool. I want mine to be warm because the back colors are cool. So a speck of naphthol red light will give her a pinky skin. And I'm just going to roughly paint the shape. And this is where I can decide, do I want the stenciling to show through? I don't think I'm going to be bothered by it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it. So I'm just going to go through. Now if you're not, if you've never painted a face before, basically the head, for this purpose, the head is an oval. Okay, it's just an oval. And then the neck. But the neck I'm really exaggerating. Now, if I was painting this from a photograph, that's a different story. I think I want to make her a little bit bigger than that. I think I want to make her a little bit bigger. This is where I'm now, this is where I'm having the challenge, is I'm starting to look at now and thinking proportions, but no, I purposely want to make an imperfect face. The paint here hasn't quite dried yet, but that's okay. And the way that I've found with the imperfect face is just omit some detail. Let's get a bit more paint in here. Let's make this a little bit darker. Oh, that's way too pink. If you have some paint that's called a flesh color, that's fine. Use that. I don't, because I color mix everything. And I'm just going to make her neck a little bit darker. And I'm going to put some words right in here. There are some artists out there, they make the most amazing fantasy soft faces. The one that I really, really like, Adriana Almanza, I think, I'm not sure if I could pronounce that right, but oh my god, her doll faces, they're so beautiful. Oh, absolutely beautiful. I wish I could make little doll faces like that. But I think as soon as I get past my challenge of, you know, getting rid of, like, blocking that training out for this purpose, then I think I'll be okay. And that was just a small filbert that I use, a number 10. Now I want to let dry for sure, because once it's dried, now I'm going to do a little rough little sketch of the eyes, the position of the nose and stuff like that. So I'm thinking of doing it like this, okay? And she'll be here, and you can see I made the neck a little bit still too big. The head I didn't quite make the right shape. Does it matter? Not really. But I want to try doing it like this, because if I deviate off my drawing, then I'm thinking I'm probably going to start getting anal about proportions again. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm really trying to create an imperfect face. So I'm going to square up her face a little bit at the top. Okay, and then bring that right down. So it'll come down like this. Come down and like this. More of a pointed, because fairies, looking at the pictures, their faces are quite pointed. Like the chin area is quite pointed. And some of you out there that have been doing this stuff for years are probably just laughing your guts out at me. Well, you know what? You were a beginner too at some point. And for the record, I'm doing this while Joe is out. Because when he sees me trying to do faces like this, he goes, "We spent all that money for art school for you to draw like this." And he's not being rude or anything, but he doesn't like this style of art. And I'm doing this for me, not for him. There we go. So that's that. So I'm just going to clean this part up here, and I need to get some baby wipes. Or actually, my Clorox wipes are fine. They're on another table. All right, put that aside. Now, that's actually pretty good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, while this dries, I'm going to take some transparent red iron oxide. And I'm bringing this out because it's dried out on my palette. And I'm going, let's see, what brush can I use? I'm going to use another number 8 bristle brush. I'm going to get a fresh one because it's dry. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush all over the background. Now this is not this is not a short video either. This is not a short video. I got a little bit of water in that. Like I said, this is just showing my process. It's not a formal lesson. Let's get some random stuff happening here. And Mia's so tired. The air conditioners are working overtime. And poor Joe, he got a call from one of his friends to help him move of all days. Oops. Alright. And I'll just use the back of this one. And I don't want to get it on the face. I'm just going to be a little bit more selective where I'm going to pounce this one. Again, not perfect. This actually works pretty good. I can do that one over the face here. I'm going to do this over the face too, very lightly. So I love the pattern. Yeah, I like that. Okay. These stencils I usually soak after my painting session into a little tub with winning colors. Actually, it's 1000 plus stain remover because they changed the name. Okay, her wings. So I'm thinking I'm going to put her wing. Her hair is going to flow here. So I'm going to put her one wing here. So I'm taking phthalo blue. No. Do I want it blue? I don't think I want it blue. I think I'm looking pewter. Pewter. Now all this excess paint I have here, I'm just going to squeeze it out on the paper towel. I'm not going to rinse my brush because you can't stencil properly with a wet brush. Whoops, unless you want that effect. And tap on a paper towel or just excess here. I love metal. Anything metal. Oh, you can't really see it though. Darn. Okay. So I'm going to have to go the other way around. I'm going to have to go to the extreme. I'm going to go to copper. I don't want gold and I don't want silver. I wonder if I can just load this here. There we go. I'm going to paint right over the whole butterfly image because her hair is going to cover it up anyways. There we go. That's a little bit better. You can see that. Now I'm just wiping this down because I don't want the rest of the image going on top of her face. So we're going to put this one right about here. This one here is picking up some of that blue. There we go. Put that aside, put that brush in water. So you can see. There we go. Now I need to, when to do stuff like vintage, the word vintage is different from other people. To me, vintage is just anything that's kind of old school. And I may end up doing another page on this one because I just came up with another idea. I really like this. It's going to be old, 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 old. That's actually pretty good. So I'm just going to take my pencil now. And I'm thinking I'm going to, now, typically I almost caught myself drawing the face in half, cut it in half, cut in half, cut in half, then cut in thirds. I do still want some type of little bit of proportion, nothing too major. And if I want her face right about here, there's a halfway mark right about there. Her eyes are going to be, she's sleeping, and typically the width of the face is typically 5 eye sizes. So if you take your eye, take the eye that you're going to draw, the face should be 5 sizes like that. So if the eye is going to be this big, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then everything on the face, the perfect face, is measured by the width of the eye. But this is a imperfect face, so I'm going to draw her eyes there, and her nose. I'm thinking here, so I'm going to just make a little divot here for her nose and her nostrils. And I'm already catching myself measuring proportions. I got to stop. And then her eyebrow, oh, her eyelid. Okay. And then her eyebrow. And I'm doing this in pencil because I can always erase it. A little bit of shadow under here. I got to stop doing that. The mouth here, I'm just going to make about just past the width of the nose. Okay, then I'm going to bring that down like a nice pout. Like so. Nice pout. Like that. So that's what I'm looking at. Okay. And I need some more paint. Now, depending on what color, I don't even know if I'm going to paint over this. I'm not even sure what color I want to do for her facial features. But, oh, I'm missing a brush. Oh, let me just get another brush. Just going to get a round brush. And I'm going to go into quinacridone. No, sorry, just red violet. And I'm going to paint her lips. Now red violet's transparent, so the pencil will show through. So this is going to take about 2 coats on this one. And some of you have been watching my videos, you may be asking why I'm using these brushes. These are my professional brushes. They're a tool, an art tool, and I'm not going to wreck them by doing this. But if I was doing like a lot of scrubbing, I'll just go with the soft grip brushes. The soft grip brushes are less expensive, but they are a very good durable brush. So I'm going to let that dry. And I'm going to make a little bit of another white mix. Oh, I need a little bit more yellow oxide. Where is it? And I guess thinking now, if you're doing like fantasy faces or imperfect faces, getting a pre-mix of flesh color would be actually alright. I'm going to put a little bit of blue-gray in that. And you may be saying, but blue and yellow make green. Yeah, it does actually. All faces have, where's that red? Where did I put my naphtha red light? I had put it on the table. All faces have a green undertone. Well, not all faces, but most faces have a green undertone. I actually did a series, I'm still doing the series, painting portrait features onto Interactive Artist magazine, and we basically each issue I go over a new feature, and I have a full color mixing segment on there. And all I'm doing now is I'm shadowing some of the areas. I don't want to lose that stencil area, so I'm going to keep that thin. I just want to get a little bit of shadow under there. Her hair is going to be covering that spot. Going to get that ready for her eyelid. I'm going to have her have some nice glittery eyeshadow. Oh, wouldn't that be pretty? And underneath. I'm going to taper this a little bit more. Her hair is going to flow over this. I'm going to get a bigger brush. Bigger brush. Bigger brush. And that's going to be where the wording is going to go. There we go. And do this again. Nice and opaque. Speck of black. And I'll dry brush some white after that. Take a liner brush. Liner brush and water. Some of that blue-gray, a little bit of black. And just going to make it really thin. I'm being too detailed. Okay, her hair is going to come right over all that, so that's okay. It's a little harsh though. Wonder if I can. There we go. Ooh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I like that. going to baste this in. I'm actually going to be using the copper liner with this. Oh, Mia's stretching. Stretching and making an awful lot of noise. And I'll just... little bit of color in here. Bigger brush. Go to a filbert. Always rubbing because I don't want any paint ridges. A little bit of white. Oh, her hair is going to be there, so I'm not going to bother with that. So a little bit more color. And we need a little bit more color here. I'm already looking and saying, oh my god, that chin is too deep, but she's a fairy. There we go. So see what I'm doing? Just rubbing and dry brushing. Oops, not over her eyebrow. Getting some random color in there. See, rough, 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 rough. Okay, where's... I want a larger filbert. And it's going to use number 12. And I'm just going to take some black, some blue-gray. Yeah, that's fine. Some water. And let's see, so if I want to just, I'm just going to get that based in there. And just get that base in here. Okay, butterfly wings are still showing. And with all this being based in here first, and then when I start adding the details, I don't know, start pulling in the highlights and stuff like that. Messy hair. She's sleeping, don't forget. Okay, and while that dries, I'm going to get some, oh, this is plugged up. Yeah, it is. Oh, do I actually want to use this color? What color do I want her eyes? No, I think I'm going to want her eyes. Could I make her eyes purple? Fairies are a fluttery kind of color. No, the purple's looking kind of cool. No, the copper. I'm going to work with the copper. Okay, take the tip. I'm just going to screw that tip on. All right. And I'll just squeeze it out here and get it going. No, I should, actually that's not too bad. And I'm letting a little bit of that blue show through. Okay, and really exaggerate the eyelashes. Put another thick line over that. I think I'm running out of this. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm running out. Oh, this is a terrible eye. How am I going to fix that? That is awful. I'll just take the tip and I'll just kind of drag the edge of the paint to make the eyelashes look a little bit wispier. I could have painted them, but I didn't want to. I wanted this coppery. There we go. Not going to worry too much about here because I still have to put a little bit more hair in there. This tip in the bin, tap, which sets the paint back down, and close that. Okay, well, the eye, not terribly impressed with it. Not terribly impressed with it at all. And do I have any metallic paint left? No, I don't. Where's my copper? Let's see. Now I have to think of what do I want to do with this. I'm thinking about putting some more stenciling on her face. Let's get a highlight in her mouth. A little bit of white. A little bit of a highlight. I'm just going up and down. Rub, just so it's not too much. You do want to get one glimmer of highlight, a really, really strong glimmer where the mouth is at its poutiest. I'm just going to put a speck right there. Okay. And think. I'm thinking about what I want to do for her eyes. What color do I want to make her eyes? Copper, red, green. Green patina. Oh, I didn't shake that enough. I didn't shake that enough. Now if I would do what I probably would do, I would get that back in the bottle and shake it a little bit more. I just don't have time. You really got to shake metallic paint up to. You've got the binder and the pigment. Now this is very transparent, which I like. I would usually wait for this to dry, but I'm okay. I'm just careful. Just over her lid. I won't need that anymore. You can basically pick any color you want as well. Now, big brush. And I'm going to take some blue-gray. No, I lied. I'm going to take some transparent red iron oxide. And I just want to get a sheer dress on her. Nice sheer dress. I'm not going to worry about fabric folds and stuff like that. Keep that nice and loose. She's a conservative fairy. Not going to show too much skin. Okay. While I'm at it, I'm going to take some of that transparent red iron oxide, the same color as this, much thinner. And just rub that in there. I want that rough aged look. Whether I'm getting it is, I have no idea. What should I have done first? Wait for the dress to dry, or actually paint the skin first. Rough, aged. Get that rough, aged. Let's get a little bit of white in there. Whoops. Let's get a shadow. Take a little bit of blue-gray in there. I like using purples for shadows. Mop brush. Get that softened. Oh, what happened to her chin? There we go. And now we have a good base for her hair to flow over her neck. A little bit of contrast, so it's not so stark. A little bit of contrast in there. You know, I'm going to get a little bit of orange in there. Let's go bold. Not that much orange. And I'm just going to use a mop brush just to roughly put that in. Very soft. See, it blends in with the other color. Bring that a little bit higher. I've got hair in there. I'll get that out of there after. Nice and soft. See how it's just airy? Nice and soft. And now this should be dry enough where I can add my last layer. And all these brush strokes are going to show through. Should show through if I did it right. Transparent red iron oxide, same color. Now I'm just going to be a little bit more careful now for her dress. I don't want to lose all those brush strokes. So I'm keeping it relatively thin, but using the paint pure. I didn't thin any of the paint down. This is going to be a really long video. I still am not going to edit any stuff out to make it shorter. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do it in high def on YouTube because that video will be like huge. I don't know, we'll see. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. Oh. Now when her eyes are dry, I'm going to be applying a layer of transparent red iron oxide over the entire piece as well, to kind of tie everything together. I have to let everything dry. And the Paper Effects, I can't use a heat gun on it. So for her hair, and I can just dry brush some highlights. And hair I like doing in many layers. I'll do this layer here, and then I'll do another dark layer. It's the same way that when I do my drawings. When I'm drawing for hair, I do many, many layers. Light layers and dark layers. Just makes it look a little bit more realistic. Even though I'm making an imperfect face. I was blocking the camera there, sorry. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up and I'm going to let this dry. I want this to be dry 100%. Then I'm going to come over the entire piece with a wash of transparent red iron oxide, which will age the whole thing up. Or even, see, I would typically use even burnt umber or raw umber to antique it, but those colors are, they're opaque. Just to show you. The minute I put that color on, this page is going to look so vintage. Whoops, didn't even have to shake that. Would have been better if I actually shook it first, then opened it. Dummy. See, that's raw umber. And where's my burnt umber? That was burnt umber. This is raw umber. So raw umber looks like it has a little bit more green in it. See the differences? Okay, but the transparent red iron oxide is that. So it's up to you. You don't even have to do that, but I want to tone my whole piece down with a solid color. It's not going to be as solid as this, but it's going to have a very, very transparent wash on it. I don't know, I may try this because I can always wipe it down first. Because now this, other than the background and the corners, this is all paint. So I can rub a little bit harder and it's not going to take up the top layer. Alright, so for this, I'm thinking this is probably going to take about a half an hour to dry. So I'll see you then. So I'm going to come in now with some dark color. Make her hair very wispy. I love wispy hair on girls, on little paintings that I do or whatever. And we'll just put a little bit more dark around the face because it would typically be shaded there. Break up that solid line. Paint's drying a little bit. Just getting a little dry now. I'm just gonna spray that palette. Just using any, you can use any dark color, doesn't matter what it is. The minute you add moisture, the paint starts to flow. And now I'm just gonna, a little bit of darken there, which is the part in her hair, which doesn't matter. I shouldn't be focusing on that. Okay, pick up a little bit of white and come down. Oops, it's too much white. And now I'm just gonna, a little bit on top where her, I better fix that after. I'm just gonna put that back in here like this. That was way too much white. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna wait for that to dry a bit. There we go. Speck of water. An easy brush to use when you want to do this type of stuff is a rake brush. A comb brush, or the brushes where that are all cut at the ends. I want to make her hair highlighted, not gray. I'm just going to fix this up a bit. I don't think that's dry yet. See, with acrylics, see, I made a mistake. I'm not going to edit it out. But with acrylics, it's so easy just to fix it. But basically what you do is you just let it dry, or depending if you're going on for a wet look, you let it dry and you just then paint over it. Easy peasy. I like these little split parts. In my younger days I had my hair like that. It was not parted straight, but it was kind of crossed. And let's just get Just a few. She's looking beautiful. And I'm looking at the time, and I've spent way more time than I should have on this piece. Way more time. So I still have a long way to go for the process of the imperfect face. Yeah, I'm spending way too much time on this. I'm spending way too much time on this on video, but you know what? I really like how she's turning out. I like how she's turning out. Mop brush will soften anything that looks very, very mesmerizing. I love that. And I think one more hit of a highlight up here and her hair is done. Okay. Dry, dry, dry. Won't take long. And I want to put a stencil here. Now I'm going to do this stencil with transparent red iron oxide. Better move my brushes. But what I want to do first is I want to make sure that my brush is totally and 100% dry. And a little bit of blue in that's not going to matter because I'm going to be stenciling so lightly. And I'm going to get some fresh paint. Fresh paint. I've come this far, so I don't want to screw it up. And this is the same paint I'm going to use to put a wash over everything. So now what I want to do is I want to sort of like put a on the side, stencil on the side. And this stencil is actually upside down, which is what I want, the way I want the shape. This is acanthus borders. And then when I put the wash of transparent red iron oxide on top, this part here that I'm doing is going to be even stronger. Over her face. So now you know why the eyes had to be dry first. Okay. And then just half on this side. And I'm going to get some of the residual from the back of the stencil. I'm putting it a little bit thicker because I'm going to wipe this one out. Wiping it out because I'm pushing the stencil. We lost her wings, so I think I may end up putting her wings back in, but I think I'm going to put them in with white. I don't know. I'm just going to, oops, I bent that. To the side. Maybe a butterfly here. See, I lost her wings. Okay, I'm going to take it under that. I'm not going to have her wings in there. That they've been lost. They've been lost. Unless I put this one right here, which I'm going to do. There we go. She didn't lose her wings totally. So I'm thinking now I probably should have did things in a little bit of a different order. Shoulda, coulda, didn't. Shoulda, coulda, didn't. Where's that round brush? Ah! Everything's in my brush basin. Oh, I'll just take this filbert. Just a little bit of paint here. There we go. All right, that's almost dry. And now what I'm going to do, now this you have to make sure it's perfectly clean. So I'm going to take my big massive filbert brush and I go to the sink and I rinse it out to make sure there's absolutely no white in this. And then I'm going to put that wash of transparent red iron oxide over the entire piece. So it's pretty well dry, and also thought about where I was going to put some of these flowers. So I thought about doing something like this, and then the words "Fairies Can Dream" right here. But I have to wait for the wash to be cleaned first. And I'm not going to take basin water. I'm going to take fresh water, and you really want it loose, okay? And we're not going to rub too hard. And everything that was white now takes on that tint of aged look. There's a little bit of green in the back. That's beautiful. You can use any color for this, but transparent red iron oxide is one of my favorites. And just a bit more water. Now you'll really notice it here. See? You notice that we're not going overkill on where we're putting all of this. We're not rubbing, we're just lightly painting over. And what this does is it allows you to keep all the work that you've done underneath it, and we're just glazing. Now see this? Something that I touched wasn't quite dry, and I have a funny feeling it's from this. I have a funny feeling it's from that. So I'm going to make up some fresh glaze color. If you get any white in a glaze, it just doesn't work. And then you just let it dry, and then you just add more, as many layers as you want. And I'm going to get my, I've got a little mop brush. I'm just going to soften this out a little bit. Go. And you just do this as many times as you want. You can also use a glazing medium in between the layers, and that's going to make the layers even more rich. It creates a barrier in between, and then what that does is it allows more light to pass through, making your layers even more luminescent. I just want this to be a little bit more deep. Like I said, you can, look at that, beautiful. You can do this as many times as you want. So you notice this is with one layer. This is with 2 layers. See the difference in color? And same with the face. See, the more I put on there, the colors become richer and richer. Now, if I was doing this as an actual paint, like an actual painting, I would use the glazing medium on this. This isn't quite dry yet, this one here. I'll have to go back over that. And that's dry already. Now I'm going to take my Fabulous Fine Point Liner. That's actually the name of it. And I'm going to go into, what I actually want to do is I want to do this with pen, but I want to try doing it with paint. And all I'm doing is I'm creating that gray mix. And that may be too fine a point. Very, very delicate. Very delicate. I hate doing the letter E. Gotta make sure there's no bubble at the end there. If I do get a bubble like I just did, and I will work that in, because then I can take the paint and I can add, like a larger brush, I can add a dot at the end of each piece to make that fit in. Fairies Can Dream. This is going to be so subtle. Fairies Can Dream. Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to purposely put a dot at every line end. These brushes are great for that because the paint just drips. It just drips down. One down here. And you don't have to do this. I still hate writing by hand. Wonder what happened if I turned that and I dripped the paint along the letters. I think that'd probably look cool. That would probably look cool. See how nice and rich it gets? It's not dry yet. It's not dry yet. Look at the white, some of the white coming off. Paint there, but just must have been just a little thick. Ooh, yeah, look. Living on the edge, working with a dirty brush. Oh, another brush that's really good, oops, is this brush here. This is a large area brush which is goat hair. These are amazing for washes. Use this for watercolors. It covers a very large area, very soft. It holds a lot of water. It holds a lot of water. And I can just keep moving it around, and it works like that mop brush where it just softens everything together. See? Look how beautiful that is. And leave that alone. There we go. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do now is wait for that to dry. Won't take long at all. And then I'm going to put the flowers on. And actually the corners are actually dry where I want to put the flowers on. So, where's my glue? Where's my glue? And that I think I'm just going to leave like that. And I'll put the glue and put the flower there. And like that. There. Leaves me room to do my binding. If I want to put this into a journal page. Tap, tap, tap. Make sure that goes back down. There, there, and there, and there. Alright, so I'm going to let this beauty sit like this now for about a half an hour. We'll give the time for the glue to set, the page to dry. I'm going to vintage up the edges, and she's all finished. So here she is. Now the glue hasn't totally 100% dried yet. It'll dry transparent. So what I did is I also took a liner. I just kind of went over the lines a bit just to kind of bring them out just a little bit more. I've got my dauber here with burnt umber. And all I'm going to do is just very lightly work the edges. I had to stop there just for a second. Mia had come over and she wanted to see what I was doing. And I'm just going over the edges as well. I can just do the edges like this as well. Now the back I'm not going to worry about right now. And I probably should have did the edges before putting the flowers on. I know. I like breaking rules. So you can see part of the stencil through here. This is that's so cool. And by doing the edges, it just makes it look a little bit older. Now the burnt umber though, it is an opaque paint, so this is why I'm doing it quite lightly. You can add a thinner, you can add like extender to it or something which will make it thinner, but then the paint will also be very wet. This you can do in as many layers as you want. I was contemplating using some metallic luster on this. I thought that would be really, really cool. It's a new product from Deco Art where you can rub a metallic on, which was really, really cool. But I didn't want to have too much bling on this one, not too much gold, other than the gold from the buttons and our fairy's eyelashes. And she doesn't even look like a fairy, so I think I failed. But I'm happy with it. So I have a long way to go before I can get out of that. I don't want to completely get out of getting myself conditioned to do imperfect faces, because that's basically my livelihood, to do perfect faces. But I think I'll just keep practicing, like I say to all my students, and you keep practicing, 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 and eventually you'll get it. I may come in with an actual white liner, I think, a white pen to go over the letters, just to make them stand out a little bit more. I think I'm going to do that. There we go. Oh, I'm loving this. I could also come with this little bit more shading underneath. It's just dry brushing. Okay. Could also do a little bit under her eyes. Inside her, where the nose is. Not too much. And under her head where it's maybe a little bit of shadow. A brush is better for this. See this here? Okay, big boo-boo. There was a water drop there. Well, not a water drop, the paper was a little bit wet there. So the paint actually lifted off. So to fix that, I'm simply not gonna fret about it. All I'm gonna do is just bring her hair a little further down. That's all I'm going to do. Bring her hair a little further down. And that'll tie it in. And then when that's dry, just a little bit of transparent red iron oxide. Maybe not. I'm liking that highlight over that layer, that glazing layer. There we go. I'm liking that. I'm going to take a little bit of white. Now I'm thinking of that movie, was it Poltergeist? I don't remember the name of the actress, but after the movie, and then she had a big white streak in her hair. That's what I'm thinking here. The white streak in her hair. There we go. Oh, I'm liking that. And bringing some of that down next to the flower for some contrast. Yeah, I can handle that. I can handle that. So that was a happy accident. But I am noticing now that I'm starting to pick a little bit more, and I'm starting to look at shadows and shapes now, and I'm probably at the point now where I need to stop. Otherwise, she's going to look more like a painting, a portrait painting, and not a fun piece of creative art. So I think I'll put the brush away. And even when I say I'm putting the brush away, you notice I'm not doing it. And even when I'm calling myself up that I'm not doing it, I'm still not doing it. Okay, I'm going to go get a white pen, and I'm going to work on the lettering. Now, I have yet to work successfully with these pens. These are the Uniball white gel pens. And I have yet to really find out what I'm doing wrong, because the pen is always skipping. And I'm just basically making some lines around what I painted. I could have done this with acrylic paint. And I'm just adding a little bit of whimsy. The letters, though, I will try to keep the same. Like the letter I. All the other letter I's that together, I'll do them the same. Yeah, so if anybody can let me know, like, how to get these to stop skipping, I would really love to know. So I've seen people use them quite a bit, and I feel like I'm the only one having this problem, and I really dislike it. Like, here it's skipping here as well. I really dislike that. And normally I would think common sense is it's a slick surface, but here it's not. It's all acrylics on here. Like here, holy smokes, it just won't. And it gets to be very scratchy. See here, it's very scratchy. And the paint is dry. Like, I love the scratchy look, but I would really like to know what I can do so it's not so scratchy, so it doesn't skip. There we go. I like that. And with this now I can, oh, let me just, I should do this with paint because I'm already not liking this pen. I'm going to put little tips of white on her eyelashes. And just a little dibby dab here. I could actually even just put a rough outline around the flowers, but I don't want to put too much white. I want it to stay with that. So there we are. So although she doesn't look like a fairy, nothing like a fairy, this is my dark side of vintage with fairies, and the name is Fairies Can Dream. So I hope that you enjoyed this very, very long video, and I apologize for it being so long, but it's my process. It's the way I just want to show you how I did it, and I don't do journal pages in 30 minutes. That's just not the way I work. Some people do. I don't work that way. But I do hope that you got a little bit of something out of watching this video. So until next time, stay inspired.